Welcome back. We now move on to the sixth seal. We saw in the fifth one, there was a cry from the martyrs saying, Lord, how long? How long does the suffering have to go through? How long does the persecution have to go through? And God's heart was that even a little more, so that there'll be others who could get saved. And so we moved in on to the sixth seal, and it's almost like there is a response from heaven through the sixth seal to bring a judgment on the earth. When he opened the sixth seal, I looked, and behold, there was a great earthquake, and the sun became black as sackcloth. The full moon became like blood, and the stars in the sky fell to the earth as fig tree sheds its winter fruit when shaken by a gale. The sky vanished like a scroll that is being rolled up, and every mountain and island was removed from its place. Then the kings of the earth, and the great ones, and the generals, and the rich, and the powerful, and everyone, slave and free, hid themselves in the caves and among the rocks of the mountains, calling to the mountains and rocks, Fall on us and hide us from the face of him who is seated on the throne, and from the wrath of the Lamb, for the great day of their wrath has come, and who can stand? The sixth seal will be like a cosmic disturbance that is caused by a nuclear war or a global earthquake, and it causes volcanic debris to pollute the atmosphere, which turns the moon into blood red and the sun becomes dark. There is no escape for anyone. And these are signs from heaven. Signs that, if you're rich, if you're poor, if you're a high general in the army, if you're of high importance, none of your securities are going to work. None of the palaces, none of the fortresses that man has built is going to protect anyone, because the attack that is coming from heaven, the debris, the meteor rains, it cannot protect anything. And literally they run even to the mountains. They try to cover themselves in the caves, and they're saying, will the rocks fall on us so that we are going to get protected, because the attack is coming from above. Now, one of the key aspects I see in this whole section is right at the end, where when the people are screaming out, they recognize that this is the anger of God. But interestingly, it talks about the anger that comes from he who sits on the throne. So they're saying this is the anger of God. This is the wrath of God that is coming upon us. But for the very first time, we see also the wrath of the Lamb. We don't see that anywhere. Many times, even in the Old Testament, we see the anger of God coming upon humanity, coming upon a nation. But hardly do we see the wrath of the Lamb. So you could see that this was a combined almost anger, a combined wrath of the Father and the Son. And I personally believe that this is a response in bringing judgment on the earth for the shedding of the blood of the martyrs. The prophet Joel had described this day as the day of darkness and gloomness, a day where the clouds and thick darkness, and a time where the sun and moon will go dark and the stars will diminish in their brightness. Joel says in chapter 2 verse 2, chapter 3 verses 15 and 16, he says that the heavens and the earth will shake. He speaks about the red moon or the blood moons. And, right through the Old Testament, we also see some of these elements being mentioned. Revelations chapter 6 verses 12 to 17, which we read, gives us a clear picture. Isaiah chapter 13, you could, study this. Isaiah 13, 10 and 13 talks about some of this destruction coming. Isaiah chapter 2 verses 12 to 21, again about the earth trembling. Matthew 24, verses 29 and 30. It talks about the sun being darkened, the moon will not give its light. It talks about stars that will fall from the heavens. And then we also say in Luke 21, verses 25 to 27, similar descriptions as Matthew. Because remember, Matthew, in the Olivet Discourse, Jesus was sharing, these are some of the things that were going to happen. So the first thing we read is about the earthquakes. There's going to be multiple, destructive earthquakes. So far we have seen in the world remote earthquakes, but we're going to see earthquakes like never before. The sun is going to be black, and some may say it's an eclipse. We do not know what, but there will be darkness over the earth, because when the sun gets dark, there's going to be darkness over the earth. And that's why it's almost like, it says that the heavens, almost closed up. It's kind of saying, that's it. The moon, would be like blood. We have seen a couple of blood moons in the past few years. And, people have got excited about them. But I don't want to be in a situation when the sixth seal is open. I don't want to be here. We see the stars that are falling down. Nothing can stand in its way. Then we're also going to see islands and mountains being shifted from their place. There's a physical shifting of islands, physical shifting of mountains. We've seen the tsunamis that can cause utter destruction. I personally have seen that, where, water goes miles inland, destroying houses, destroying villages, destroying, communities. And then we are also seeing that the people, they're going to be running, and every category of people, from the presidents to their army generals, to the poor, to the free, because they are escaping, or they are attempting to escape the wrath of the Lamb. And, when that day comes, no one can stand. And that's why they are saying, who is able to stand? Who can ever stand this? But I'm intrigued that these people have an understanding of the throne room of God. They're talking about God. They see who is, sending this. So they have an understanding of God, but they have rejected Him. They have an understanding of the Lamb, but they have rejected Him. As I mentioned to you previously, this is almost an avenge of the blood that has been shed of the martyrs. And, the sixth seal brings a description of events that lead to the day where justice is served, where justice takes place. And so therefore, we conclude the sixth seal with, I would say, phenomenal catastrophe, where people will be thrown out of their houses. People will be running for cover. They'll be running for their lives. And no one will be able to escape. And they're hoping that caves will, give them some sort of a covering. But the truth of the matter is, you cannot escape the wrath of God. You cannot escape the wrath of the Lamb. And therefore, my encouragement to you is, once again, as I have been saying this over and over and encouraging us, is help your friends come to know Christ. Witness to them. Share the gospel of Jesus Christ. And, make maximum use of the time that you have right now. So we will continue, and as we look at the continuation of some of these scrolls and some of the judgments coming, and also a great revival that begins to take place.